You know that person who says they'll come to the party, shows up for exactly 47 minutes, then vanishes like they were never there? The one everyone calls boring, antisocial, maybe even rude? Yeah, that person isn't running away from fun. They're protecting something most people don't even know exists. And if you're someone who genuinely gets more excited about leaving a party than staying, if you've ever faked a headache at 9 p.m. just to go home, welcome. You're about to feel very seen. Today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who leave parties early. The ones society calls party poopers, but neuroscience calls something else entirely. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why staying until 3 a.m. might actually be the dumbest thing you can do for your brain. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Your brain has an energy budget. Think of it like a phone battery, except you can't just plug it in whenever you want. Every conversation, every laugh, every "Hey, how've you been?" drains that battery a little more. Extroverts, they recharge by being around chaos. The noise, the energy, the overstimulation, that's their charging station. But people who leave early, their nervous system is wired completely differently. Psychologists call this sensory threshold variability. Some brains need low stimulation to function at peak capacity. Others need high stimulation. It's not about being fun or boring. It's about how much input your brain can process before it starts shutting down systems to survive. And here's what's wild. Studies from the University of California found that people with lower sensory thresholds, the early leavers, actually process information more deeply. They notice details others miss. They think before they speak. They're not shallow because they leave early. They're selective about where they invest their energy. But there's something way more interesting happening here that most people never realize. Hit subscribe if you've ever left early and felt relief instead of FOMO. People who leave parties early aren't just protecting their energy, they're protecting their dopamine regulation. And this is where it gets insane. When you stay at a party for hours, your brain is getting constant micro hits of dopamine. New conversation, dopamine. Funny joke, dopamine. Someone you know walks in, dopamine. It's like a slot machine for your reward system. Sounds fun, right? Here's the problem. That constant stimulation desensitizes your dopamine receptors. Translation? The more you chase that party high, the harder it becomes to feel satisfied by normal, everyday moments. Your morning coffee, a quiet walk, reading a book. They stop feeling rewarding because your brain got trained to need chaos to feel anything. Science calls this dopamine adaptation, and it's one of the reasons why people who party all the time often feel empty when they're alone. But people who leave early, their brains stay sensitive to smaller pleasures. They don't need a room full of drunk strangers to feel joy. A good conversation with one person is enough. That's not boring, that's emotional intelligence. Now, do this right now. Think about the last party you went to. How did you feel 2 hours in? Energized or drained? If you felt drained, your brain was screaming at you to leave. And if you ignored it, you paid the price the next day. Brain fog, irritability, zero motivation. That's not a hangover, that's nervous system overload. Here's where the story takes a darker turn, though. Because not everyone who leaves parties early is doing it for healthy reasons. And it's important to know the difference because one is power, the other is prison. Some people leave early because of social anxiety that whispers, "Everyone here is judging you," or past trauma that makes crowded rooms feel dangerous, or depression that quietly says, "What's the point of pretending you're having fun?" For them, leaving isn't a choice, it's an escape, and home becomes both a safe haven and a cage they can't leave even when they want to. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Do you leave parties early because being there drains you, or because being around people scares you? Because one is self-awareness, the other is avoidance. One is strength, the other is hiding. And only you know which one is true. But for the people who leave early from a place of strength, who walk out at 10 p.m. without guilt, who genuinely prefer depth over noise, here's what researchers found. You're not missing out. You're actually winning. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology showed that people who set boundaries around social time reported higher life satisfaction, better sleep quality, stronger relationships, and lower anxiety levels than people who said yes to every social event. Why? Because quality beats quantity, every single time. Think about it. Would you rather have 47 surface-level conversations with people you'll forget tomorrow, or one deep conversation that makes you feel understood? Would you rather stay out until 2 a.m. and feel destroyed the next day, or leave at 10 p.m. and wake up energized? The early leavers figured out the secret. The real party isn't at the party. It's in the life you build when you stop wasting energy on things that don't fill you up. And let's be brutally honest about something society doesn't want to admit. The stay-till-the-end culture is a performance. People stay late not because they're having the time of their lives, but because they're terrified of missing out or being called lame. They're performing social stamina like it's an Olympic sport. But you know what's actually impressive? Knowing yourself well enough to say, "This isn't for me," and walking out without needing anyone's permission. That's confidence most people will never have. Now, here's something that might blow your mind. People who leave parties early often have what psychologists call high self-concordance. That means their actions match their values. They're not living for Instagram stories or group approval. They're living for themselves. And that alignment, that's where real happiness lives. Do this experiment this week. Next time you're at a social event, leave when you want to leave. Not when you think you should, not when everyone else does, when you genuinely feel done. And notice what happens. Notice the relief. Notice how much energy you have the next day. Notice how you don't feel guilty because you honored what your brain was asking for. The people who leave parties early aren't antisocial, they're selectively social. They're not party poopers, they're energy protectors. They're not missing out, they're opting into something better, a full night's sleep, a quiet morning, a life that doesn't require them to perform enthusiasm they don't feel. Here's the truth that nobody tells you. Staying at a party until the lights come on doesn't make you fun. It makes you exhausted. Leaving early doesn't make you boring, it makes you smart. And if people judge you for protecting your peace, that says everything about them and nothing about you. So if you're the person who leaves at 9:30 p.m., who says, "I'm heading out," while everyone else is just getting started, who feels genuinely happy driving home while the party rages on without you, you're not broken. You're not lame, you're not missing out. You're just wired for substance over chaos, for peace over performance, for self-respect over social approval. Tell me in the comments, are you an early leaver or a stay-till-the-end person? And if you want to understand why quiet people aren't shy, they're just operating on a completely different frequency that most people will never access. The next video is going to hit different. Click it. You'll finally understand why silence is actually your superpower.